All right. Hi, we have Meg here. We're in Falmouth, Maine, and we've been caring for her brother-in-law for about a month and a half. So we wanted to take an opportunity and get her feedback on how things have gone. Can you tell us a little bit about your brother-in-law's capability before he went into the hospital and the rehab?
Yeah, so we're at the end of May. So at the end of March, so just a couple of months ago, my brother-in-law and sister, who live right around the corner from me, were completely independent. Although, I was noticing kind of a decline with both of them for a while, and was trying to say, can I help? Is there anything I can do? It would be really nice for you to have some more support. No, we're fine. And then he fell. Which happens, right? You're just kind of waiting for that situation where it kind of puts you in a reactionary place instead of a proactive place. And
Right.
for, I don't know, like 2 years, I was trying to be in a proactive place, but that wasn't going to happen. So he fell, we had to take him to the hospital. The ambulance came, the paramedics came. So he went to the hospital and he was there for like 4 days and like 5 nights, and he had broken a bone in his hip. It didn't need surgery, which was great. But then they moved him to rehab. So luckily, the case manager there said, this is where he's going to go next. And a couple of days into rehab, the case manager there said, you're going to need full-time help now when he comes home. And I was like, well, what the heck does that mean?
Right.
And what do you mean? We don't know when he's being released. Like, we don't know where to go. And she handed us this handout that had, you guys were the only ones that were full-time care.
Mm-hmm.
And the others were kind of hourly care. You could do full-time care, but it's like an hourly, it'd be 24 hours with an hourly rate. And so I called and I got you on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And got some preliminary information. But at that point, I was just like, I don't have enough information. I mean, here they were completely independent, meaning he was able to go up and down the stairs. They were cooking for themselves. They were cleaning. And now we've gone to full-time care within like a 10-day period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat on it for like a couple of days. And then I was like, okay, we need to move forward with this full-time care, whatever that means. And you had been out.
Yeah, I was on vacation.
And so I had Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
You introduced me to Sarah, and she was fabulous. And she came, and I quickly filled out the application, which was really doable. I mean, it was not overwhelming. It was something that I could really knock off and get the application. And then Sarah came to the house, and we did kind of a whole assessment with my sister and Sarah and I. And then I was like, okay, well, when? Like, when can this start? And I went to my brother-in-law in the rehab center, and he was just like, what do you mean full-time care? What do you mean having somebody come into the house?
He's
like,
a very independent,
wait a minute, like this is an independent Mainer,
private
right?
person, right?
And I was just like, I was kind of like, I'm the sister-in-law, right? And I was really kind of like, yeah, they are telling us that you are going to need full-time care, and we're going to have somebody living. They luckily, they have a house where they have bedrooms upstairs, but they live down on the first floor.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, we're going to have this person live upstairs. And it was like, okay. I mean, it's like, I need to think about it. I'm like, well, you can't think about it that long. And one of the things I've learned about him is he needs to be in control of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
It can't be imposed. It's like, but we need to, as the family members, present all the information to keep them safe when they come home. And so, we said, okay, let's put this into motion.
Yep.
And then that's when we started the next step.
Well, Meg, this is such a common story that we hear from lots of families, that, one day it seems like people are completely independent and doing their own things, and then the next day the rug comes out from under them.
Right.
And everybody's got to scramble and, and make a plan. What was it like when you started to see the plan unfold for you?
Yeah, I think that what was the first thing is, okay, well, when can somebody come?
Mm-hmm.
And I think you guys did an amazing job, because at first there wasn't the same time frame. So
Right.
that when my brother-in-law was going to be released, you weren't able to come that day, but you came 4 days later, which was phenomenal. Again, to have such a turnaround, to find somebody that was going to come in
Mm-hmm.
and stay full time. So we had 4 days of piecing something together with another agency, which was wild. I mean, they were phenomenal, and we now have that agency taking care of my sister, because my sister just needs somebody to come in and help her several hours a day. So that agency is actually really perfect for my sister.
Right.
But that wasn't what my brother-in-law needed. And so they did a great job, but they came in 3 times a day for 2 hours. And it was pretty chaotic. It was because we needed full-time care. There was a situation where there were too many cooks in the kitchen, but nobody was really paying attention. And again, the paramedics had to come again because his blood pressure had dropped. And the visiting nurse said, legally, I have to call. And luckily, it came back up, and we declined taking him to the hospital. I don't think that would have happened if we had had that full-time care right off the bat. So that gave me an indicated, like, oh my gosh, she's only been home for like 2 days, and we already have the paramedics coming back. So he got released on a Thursday, and Uriah arrived on Monday at 11 o'clock. And I, who lives right around the corner, when I met him, he just came in and was just this breath of fresh air. And he came in and he sat down across from my brother-in-law and said, "Can I sit across from you?" And he sat down, and I just saw the rapport starting to be built, right? That somebody's coming in to somebody else's house, they're going to be the caregiver. And I think that first, encounter is just so important. That can make and break that rapport. And he is such a professional, has so many years of expertise. But what I loved is somehow he figured out that to eat. And he said, "I'm a really good cook."
Perfect.
And once you know that, and he is. And so he's a really, really good cook. And my brother-in-law has gained weight, which has been really a good thing.
Good.
He's been nurtured. He's been taken care of. It's taken a little time to get the schedule down. But pretty soon the rhythm got to start, which was really phenomenal. And for me, I was just like, you guys just saved us. Particularly because when he came home that following week, I had to go have surgery. And so I wasn't going to be able to support as much as I had been that previous month.
Because you were, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you were taking care of your sister quite a bit, who needed some help in a different way.
Exactly.
So that must have impacted your life quite a bit before we were able to bring Uriah to
and I work full time.
brother. Yeah.
I work full time, and within that time period, I went again from them saying we don't need anything to the next thing, I have durable power of attorney. I am dealing with the banking and the lawyers and elderly lawyers and finances and bill paying. And so I've been able to do all of that. But what has been phenomenal is that what I learned, when they talk about the 24/7 care, is that the person's in the house 24/7, but it's 9 hours of care during the day with these strategic breaks for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and a minimum of 5 hours of sleep a night. And that has been challenging given what has been going on with my brother-in-law, because there's just been some complications with this terminal illness that he has. And so what I really appreciated was all the expectations were put out there. I've had no surprises. You guys did such a phenomenal job with your handouts, with if Uriah is not able to take a break, where the charge is, if he's not able to have the 5 hours of uninterrupted sleep, which has been a couple of nights.
Mm-hmm.
We understand the invoice and how that all works. There's been no surprises,
That's
which is
great.
a real testimonial to you, because I think that there's so many stressors to begin with, and not to have that be a surprise. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the money is definitely, something that you're paying for, and
Sure.
it's not, I think it's so worth every penny, but you just don't need any financial surprises on top of
Right.
everything else. And so you guys have done such an impeccable job. And Lynn, who's now my contact person, like
Right.
she and I have this really great relationship where we'll text and call, and she just checked in this morning, and the I can call and I get somebody right away, and I have my contact person, and Uriah and I are texting each other, and we're in constant contact, and it's really appropriate, the amount of interaction that I'm having as the point person,
Right.
because we have the traveling nurse coming in, and OT and PT, and working with Uriah, and he's documenting.
Mm-hmm.
And I fill in all the medication, but Uriah distributes it. And then he called me and he goes, "Now you're coming over, right?" And I was like, oh, I rarely drop a ball. But he was tracking it, and I let that slip. I thought I had another day. And so it's a team.
Yes.
And my sister just adores him. And he has really made inroads with some challenges that haven't been resolved for a very long time. And the doctor came and did a home visit. So there's been an enormous amount of intervention. When, again, a couple of months ago, they were just quietly living their life, but the quality was declining. It was just a
declining,
matter of when. So I think that what I didn't want to have happened, which was put us in a reactionary place.
Well, one of the reasons why we wanted to chat with you was because you've had a unique experience where you started working with me, and you and I developed some rapport, but then I was gone for 10 days. And so Sarah came in, and Sarah's wonderful. She used to be one of our field supervisors like Lynn. And the field supervisor role is really important to families because it gives them another terminal as part of the team to manage cases. And it frees me up to go work with social workers and other people in facilities that have other families that need some help. So we appreciate that feedback very much, and we see this as a team approach. So really appreciate your feedback. I think you've really answered all the questions that I had laid out.
Thank you guys. Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing.
You're so
Meg.
welcome.
So appreciate it.
You're so
And
welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Newton, our care
Yeah, of
coordinator
course.
for
Yeah.
Maine, one of our care coordinators with Maine. And thank you both very, very much. We just love to share stories for others that are going through similar situations. And it's not fun, and to know that there's support right around the corner.
Well, the thing that I'll say is that if we didn't have you, he wouldn't have been able to stay home, right? So I think that there's this gap of, the hospital and then rehab and then a facility, right? There's no way that my brother-in-law could stay home without the 24/7 care. And the other thing that I really appreciated is that you did have that initial 2 weeks, right? That was pretty phenomenal. It wasn't all or nothing. It was like,
Right.
nope, you have to, do 6 months, or you have to do
Right.
3 months or whatever. And my brother-in-law never would have signed up for that. He could have dug his heels in enough where he would have said, no, put me in a facility. And we're like, no. So giving us that 2 weeks was so important for our situation. But I think it was like 5 days. I'm like, okay, let's keep
We're
going.
good. Yeah.
And we never had to talk about it again. Like I never said to my brother-in-law, like, would you like another 2 weeks? I was
Right,
just like,
right.
that's it. We'll
That's
just be
moving
very
on.
kind of quiet.
No, but it gives us a chance to really understand the rhythms of the household too. Between Uriah and Lynn, and to some extent me, because I didn't do the intake, Sarah did with you, but the intake really governs the plan of care, and that becomes the plan that Lynn makes out and then goes over with everybody and says, this is what we're doing, is this okay? And so it takes a little while to figure that dance out. and that 2 weeks is important for you and it's important for us.
Oh, good, good. Well, we were really happy with that because
Yeah.
that wasn't going to work for anything longer.
I figured, yeah. I remember when we first talked, and I always say that we only have a 2-week minimum.
Right.
All right, you don't have to sign up with us forever, but it gives everybody a chance to get a feel for how this can work.
Yeah,
So,
great.
we
Well,
appreciate
thank
that.
you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Meg. Thank you, Newton.